The positive thinker sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. Good morning, student. Welcome to a very fine morning. Hope so. All are safe and healthy. So, today we'll be starting up with Geography Chapter 9, that is Trade. In this video, we'll be dealing with introduction part of trade. From where do we get the commodities which come to the market? From where have you bought them? And what is their main source? Obtain this information, write it against the commodities in the list. This is just a simple introduction, children, what we are going to study in this chapter, as it is related to trade. From where do we get the commodities? What is the main source of the commodities? These are the main things in this chapter. Now let's see what is exactly trade. Trade involves the transfer of goods and services from one person to another, often in exchange for money. Economists refer to a system or network that allows trade as a market. An early form of trade, that was barter system, saw direct exchange of goods and services for other goods and services. Now let's see what is demand. Demand is the quantity of a goods that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various prices a given period of time. The relationship between price and quantity demanded is also called as demand. Let's see now what is supply. Supply is a fundamental economic concept that describes the total amount of specific goods and services that is available to the consumer. Supply can relate to the amount of available at a specific amount available across a range. Now, children, we have seen about the demand and supply as it is related to the trade. So, in this video, we have discussed about the introduction part of the trade. We have seen about the demand and supply. In the next video, children, we'll be dealing with wholesale market, market commodities, demand, producer, buyer, etc. Before starting up with the next video, children, continue with your eye exercise first. Always end the day with a positive thought, no matter how hard things were. Tomorrow is a fresh opportunity to make it better. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's next video. Children, in the last video, we have discussed about introduction, what is demand, and what is supply related to trade. In this video, we'll be dealing with wholesale market, market commodities, demand, producer, and buyer. Let's see about wholesale market. On the basis of the information obtained above, you will realize that we buy the goods we need from the shop, markets, or malls around us. Generally, the seller of these goods are not manufacturers of the goods. They bring these commodities from somewhere. It is not necessary that these commodities are manufactured in our surroundings. They are manufactured at places very far away. They could be first brought by retail seller from wholesale market, factories, agricultural product, market, commodities, etc. And then they reach us. It is a simple concept, children, about a wholesale market. You would have seen about a wholesale market also, where we can purchase things in a bulk. We will not be able to purchase a thing like one particular thing. Like if we discuss about a pen, we cannot purchase a single pen in wholesale market. For that, we need to purchase in a bulk. Same about the market commodities over here. Next, children, let us see about demand. We have various needs in our day to day life. We buy various things to satisfy these wants. When we buy them, we create a demand for them. When we buy this product, children, we create a demand for that particular product. Now, let's see about the producer. To fulfill the demand for this product, the production of this good is carried out. The producer supplies these goods. Definitely, when we talk about the producer, when there is a demand in the market for one particular thing, what he does, he start producing the same goods. In other words, he sell them to the wholesale trader. We can also say a producer sell his goods to the wholesale trader. Now let's see about the buyer. Thus, the buying and selling of goods is done to fulfill each other's needs. Those who purchase are the consumers of the goods. The producer produce and the seller sell the goods. Buyers and sellers buy and sell the goods respectively. And this full concept particularly is known as trade. Buyer is a person who buys, seller is a person who sells, and manufacturer is a person who make that particular product. Now children, in this video we have discussed about wholesale market, market commodities, demand, producer and the buyer. In the next video children, we'll be dealing with concept of trade, deficit and barter system. Continue with your eye exercise children before starting up with the next video. Have a good day children. We are responsible for what we are and whatever we wish ourselves to be. We have the power to make ourselves. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's video. And it's very true said, children. We have the power to make ourselves. It is said by Swami Vivekananda. So we have already started up with Geography chapter 9, that is trade. In the last video, we have discussed about wholesale market, market commodities, demand, producer and buyers. So in this video children, we'll be dealing with concept of trade, deficit and barter system. So let's start up first with concept of trade. In the diagram itself, we come to know that trade is related to demand, that is buying, and supply, that is sale. We have various needs in our day-to-day life, children. We buy various things to satisfy these wants. When we buy them, we create a demand for them. Same way, when we see this, production of this good is carried out to fulfill the demand. Definitely, production is done to fulfill the demand. The producers supply these goods. Buying and selling of goods is done to fulfill each other's need. Trade is an important economic activity because the economic life of the people is interdependent. No region or country is self sufficient. The region or country which has goods in excess supply these goods or commodities to those region or countries which are deficit as per their demand. Now let's see about the deficit. If there is paucity of a commodity, then there is a demand for that commodity. The place where it is abundant provides the supply of the supply is done from regions producing excess commodities to region facing deficit according to the demand. For example, apples produced in Jammu and Kashmir are sent to the states of India having demand for it. Further, we'll see about the barter system. Trade is an age-old concept. In ancient and medieval period, trade was done through barter system. In this, there was an exchange of goods with other goods. Grains were exchanged in lieu of work done, or oil, salt, honey, and milk were exchanged for grain. There was no currency used in this trade. Even today, we see traders who exchange utensils of old cloth, but this create problem of estimating a proper price of commodities. Earlier, two such problems were encountered. As a result, the use of currency started. Today, in this modern age, trade is carried out with the help of currency only, but barter system is still prevalent to a small extent in remote areas among the tribal people. So this was about the barter system, children. Now in this video, we have seen about the concept of trade, deficit and barter system very clearly, children. Further, in the next video, we'll be dealing with types of trade. In that, we'll be seeing visible trade and invisible trade. Children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. Our business in life is not to get ahead of others, but to get ahead of ourselves. It's very true, children. Getting ahead of others is better than that getting ahead of ourselves. Good morning, student. Welcome you all to today's next video. Hope so you have continued with your eye exercise. In the last video, children, we have discussed about concept of trade, deficit and the barter system. So I guess these concepts are very clear to you all. In this video, we'll be dealing with types of trade. In that, we'll be seeing first what is visible trade and invisible trade. Visible trade. In economics, exchange of physically tangible goods between countries involving the export, import, and re export of goods at various stages of production. It is known as visible trade. Visible trade also refers to the exchange of physical goods in every stage of production. They are also known as international merchandise transactions. If an economy exports more than its import, it has a trade surplus. When there is direct buying and selling of goods and services, it is called visible trade. You can see in this picture, children, a lady is buying vegetables from the vegetable sellers. So here we can see the direct transaction between the seller and the buyer. So we call it as a visible trade. Now, invisible trade. An invisible trade is an international transaction that does not include an exchange of tangible goods, customer services, outsourcing, overseas banking transaction, and the medical tourism industry also are some of the examples of invisible trade. Now, in this picture, you can see, children, a doctor treating a patient. When there is an exchange of service, we call it as an invisible trade. For example, service is being lent to the patient. In this video, we have discussed about the visible trade and invisible trade. So, these were the examples we can say, or types of trade which is visible and invisible. In the next video, we'll be dealing with the types of trade based on quantity of goods. That will be wholesale trade and retail trade. Children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. It makes a big difference in your life when you stay positive. It's very true, children. When we stay positive, definitely there is a big difference in our life. So, we have seen, children, in the last video, we have started up with Geography Chapter 9, that is Trade. In the last video, we have discussed about types of trade. In that, we have seen visible trade and invisible trade. Buying and selling of goods is called visible trade, which we can see. And exchange of services is called invisible trade. In this video, we'll be dealing with types of trade only, but based on quantity. Here we'll be seeing about wholesale trade and retail trade. First, let's see what are the types of trade. In this, we can see a diagram related to on the basis of quantity as well as on the basis of extent of trade region. This we'll be seeing in the next video, children. In this video, we'll be dealing with wholesale trade and retail trade. Now let's see about wholesale trade. Wholesale trade consists of purchase and selling goods, generally to retailers, professional users or authorities, or to other wholesaler or intermediaries, regardless of the quantities sold. Wholesale trade means traders buy commodities on a large scale directly from the producer. The commodities are also sold on a large scale to retail traders. This is called wholesale trading. Wholesale trader buy goods on a large scale from industrialists, farmers, etc. For example, the orchard owners of mangoes or oranges sell their entire production to the wholesale trader. Let's see now about the retail trade. Retail trade is a business activity associated with the sales of goods to final consumer, the ultimate customer. It is a link between wholesaler and manufacturer and the customers of the product. Now, retail trade. When the trader buy goods from wholesale trader and sell it directly to the consumer, then it is known as retail trading. The quantity of goods sold is less in this case. For example, the shopkeeper selling goods, vegetable vendors in market, etc. So, children, in this we have seen now about the retail trade. In this video, we have discussed about the types of trade based on quantity, which were wholesale trade and retail trade. Children, in the next video also, we'll be dealing with the types of trade only, but it will be based on extent of a region. In that also, we have two parts, that is domestic trade and international trade. With this, one more concept which will be dealing in this video, in the next video, will be exports and imports. Children, continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. To be happy is to think positively, confidently, and optimistically. Good morning, student. Welcome you all to today's next video. Hope so all have done your eye exercise. So, in the last video, we have discussed about the types of trade based on quantity, which was wholesale trade and retail trade. In this video, children, again we are going to deal with types of trade only. But here the trade will be domestic trade and the international trade. And we'll also deal with exports and imports over here in this video. Let's start up with domestic trade. What is exactly domestic trade? Domestic trade is also known as internal trade. Trade done between the boundaries of the country, or we can also say done internally. This trade takes place between different regions within the same country. The size of the country, diversity, distribution, and availability of natural resources affect the internal trade within the country. The size of population, transport and communication services, the living standard of living of the people, marketing system lead to large scale internal trade. In India, factors like diversity in geographical conditions and high population also affect the domestic trade. A country's development is dependent on the extent of domestic trade. If there is a good economic growth, then trade will also be more. Thus, there is positive relationship between economic growth and the trade. Now let's see about some international trade. International trade is also known as external trade. Trade done beyond the boundaries of the country, or we can also say outside the boundaries of the country, which is done externally. International trade means the exchange of goods and services of one country with other countries. Some countries produce specific products in excess. For example, crude oil in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and wheat production in USA, Canada, etc. These products are sent to the countries having demand for those goods. This leads to the beginning of international trade. When international trade takes place between two countries, it is bilateral trade. When it occurs between more than two countries, we call it as multilateral trade. So these are the types of trades, different types. When more than two countries we deal together, we call it as bilateral, and more than two when we discuss or when we go for a trade, we call it as a multilateral trade. Now let's see about exports and imports. Exports and imports are the basic processes of international trade. When a country buys those goods and services which are scarce in their own country from another country, it is known as import. When a country produces excess goods or services, then they required it to sell this to other countries which have a demand for it. This is called an export. So, in this video, children, we have discussed about exactly what is domestic trade, international trade, and we have also seen very clearly what are exports and what are imports. So, in the next video, children, we'll be dealing with balance of trade and international trade organization. Continue with your eye exercise, children, before starting up with the next video. Life becomes easier and more beautiful when we see the good in other people. Good morning, student. Welcome you all to today's video. Hope so. All are safe and healthy, and you have continued with your eye exercise. We have started with chapter 9, Geography, that is trade. In the last video, children, we have discussed about the types of trade based on extent of a region, that is domestic trade and international trade. With this, we have also seen the concept of export and import. In this video, children, we'll be dealing with balance of trade and international trade organizations. Balance of trade. The difference between the import and export value of a country in a specific period is called balance of trade. Following are the types of balance of trade, that is, unfavorable balance of trade, favorable balance of trade, and balanced trade. Now, children will be seeing one by one balance of trade. The first one is unfavorable balance of trade. From the diagram itself, we come to know when the exports are more and imports are less, we call it as unfavorable balance of trade. When the value of import is more than the value of export, we call it as unfavorable balance of trade. Same way for favorable, it becomes opposite. Here, the imports are more and the exports are less. When we read it accordingly, when the value of export is more than the value of import, we call it as favorable balance of trade. So this was about unfavorable and favorable balance of trade. Now let's see about the balanced trade. What is balanced trade? When the value of export and import is almost the same, we call it as balanced balance of trade. So here we have seen all the three balance of trade, which were unfavorable balance of trade, favorable balance of trade, and the last one is balanced trade. Now let's see further about the international trade organizations. Carrying out trade at an international level is a more complex process than domestic trade. Trade takes place between two or more nations. Factors like the economy of the country, government policies, markets, laws, judicial system, currency, language, etc. influence the trade. That is very important, children. For this only we have international trade organizations. The political relations between two countries also influence the trade between them. Sometimes the obstacles in the way of trading affect the mutual relationship adversely. To avoid this, International Economic and Trade Organization came up. So this is the main reason why the international trade organizations came up, to smoothen and justify the process of trade between countries of different economic standings. Some international economic organizations were formed. This organization worked towards the facilitation and growth of international trade. So in this video, children, we have discussed about the balance of trade and international trade organization. In the next video, we'll be dealing with marketing. Continue with your eye exercise before starting up with the next video. You have to open up to the world and learn optimism, contentment with the past, happiness with the present, and hope for the future. Learn optimism. It's very true, children. We should know contentment for the past, happiness for the present, and hope should be there for the future. Good morning, student. Welcome to today's video. We have already started up with geography chapter 9, that is trade. In the last video, children, we have discussed about balance of trade and international trade organizations. We have also seen about the organizations. Now, in this video, we'll be dealing with marketing. Exactly what is marketing? We'll see that first. Marketing is the activity, set of institution and processes for creating, communicating, delivering and exchanging offerings that have value for customer, client, partner and society at large. Marketing research is a function that links the consumer, customer and public to the marketer through information used to identify and define marketing opportunities and problems. With a lot of hard work, Dondiba used to grow the best varieties of vegetables and other agricultural commodities. Now let's see the example. But his product could not fetch a good price. His college going son saw this situation and he first packed the commodities nicely after cleaning them neatly. Then he contacted to the supermarket in the town. Looking at the quality of his product, they advertised the farm product and kept it for sale in the mall. Today, Dhondipa's commodities are being sold for higher price than before. An appropriate presentation of any commodity is indispensable. The price of the commodity is determined by its quality, its grading, and how it is presented before the customer. Dhondipa's commodities lacked this. Dhondipa's son recognized it and adapted necessary changes on time. Thus, when we take similar measures for industrial and agricultural products, then the value of the commodity increases from the customer view. Thus, the product fetches a good price and also demand for the product increases. Now, children, see here is a list of few goods you regularly use at home. Write the name of the product, manufacturer's name, and the source of the information in front of it. That means which toothpaste do you use, which tea or coffee do you use, which bathing soap, which hair oil. This all details you have to write it. After answering the questions above, you must have realized that it is necessary to have a good quality product. Also, its advertisement affect us. Everyone does not possess knowledge about every product, but when we see others using that product, or if we see the advertisement about the product, when we inquire about it or see it in the market, it occurs to us that we need to use this product and we buy it. So, this was about the marketing, children. We say all this is possible because of marketing. Good marketing promotes business. So, in this video, children, we have discussed about the marketing, concept of marketing, example of marketing, and we have seen how to do marketing over here. Now, in the next video, we'll be dealing with importance of marketing. Continue with your eye exercise before starting up the next video. Never give up on what you really want to do. The people with big dream is more powerful than one with all the facts. Good morning, student. Welcome to a very fine morning. We have already started up with Geography Chapter 9, that is Trade. In the last video, children, we have discussed about marketing, and in this video, we'll be dealing with importance of marketing. In this video, children, we are towards the end of this chapter. Let's see the basic meaning of marketing. Marketing is the activity, set of institutions and process of creating, communicating, delivering and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners and society at large. So this is about the marketing, children. Now let's see something more about importance of marketing. In this, we'll be dealing with advertisement, information technology. Now, what does advertisement means and how does it help for marketing? Definitely, children, when we see the product directly, when we go and see in the shop, we feel whether we should use or not. But advertisement is such a concept which help us to purchase the product. information technology, definitely nowadays you all are seeing it is one of the biggest thing that we get information about that particular product and it can be useful. Then we can also see about many different apps which get information accordingly. Now in the marketing, these are main concepts we can say. Still many more are there further. Let's see about this first. Now modern industrial social fabric, globalization, and availability of abundant choices, alternatives of the product is the structure of today's business world. In this context, the existence of marketing system for trade is very important. Through marketing, one can increase business systematically. Definitely, we have seen the two concepts. Due to that, we can see the business can be increased. The production can be distributed all at once on a large scale. The product can reach a large number of consumers. Definitely, at a time, many of the consumers can see the ad and product can reach to that particular number of customers. The selling price of the product also increase. Defective products can be recalled from the market. Therefore, in today's era, marketing is a vital part of trading system. Advertisements make the customers feel the need to buy the product are on the rise, reaching maximum customers, attracting consumers to the product, and making consumers buy the product are the objectives behind them. In recent times, information technology and media have affected the marketing system deeply. Because of the revolution in the field of information technology, the whole world has become a big market. Now, further, also, we have related to the online trading and e-marketing. Through internet, we can get information about the production taking place in various countries. This makes numerous options available to the customer. It is due to internet that customer can use the facility like online trading and e-marketing. So, further, we see about the Consumer Protection Act. The consumer should also be aware of advertisements, and if there is any problem related to that, he has the right to go to Consumer Protection Court. Now, if the product is advertised using incorrect information, this is especially for this fraudulent means or making statement to cheat the consumer, pointing out the shortcomings of the competitors, then advertisement tend to lose our trust many a time. This thing happens. Therefore, while advertising, it is necessary to show or to follow rules and regulations. If such is not happening, then definitely we need to go to consumer protection people. Then it is necessary that the consumer recognizes his own needs and buy goods at reasonable rate. So this is about this chapter, dear. Here we end up with the chapter Geography, chapter 9, that is trade. In the next lecture, we'll be dealing with the next chapter. Have a good day, children.